Tolerators. This is To All the Men I've Tolerated Before with Natalie Katona, the show where my guest and I chat about how our past trends affected our viewpoints. Oh my gosh, I just screwed up my entire computer. How our past trends affected our viewpoints on love, dating, and who we are as women. Today is exciting because I have Stephanie and Lindy from the Turn of the Millennials podcast. You might have remembered my guest episode where we bitched about how much I hate the rainbow fish and the giving tree. They're going to help me delve into all things millennial when it comes to dating. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Hello,
thank you for having
thank
us.
you.
Hi, everyone. Hello, fellow tolerators.
Hello, hello.
All right. Dating as a millennial. I feel like no other generation has had to deal with as many dating upheavals and trends changing as we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's definitely been a few, because we went from in school person to person, then to the intro to the online, which was the Plenty of Fish world, which was anyways. And then now I guess into the transition of the dating apps and that. And or you could have had the paid apps like those Matcher.coms or things, but who wanted to pay for dating? I don't know. I felt a little cheap on that end. So
right.
It's been a process over the years.
I find it
Go for it, Lindy.
I find it absolutely fascinating that us as millennials living through the birth of the internet. And as soon as the internet came out, what did your parents tell you? Don't ever meet anyone off the internet. Now, look at how many fucking dating apps there are. That's all you fucking do. That is your social life.
And
how many couples start from dating
and
apps?
you're sharing your location on your phone with people this guy might be nice. This guy might murder me.
Checking into places on Facebook.
Yeah. So in high school, I didn't date a lot in high school. It wasn't the vibe of my high school for people to be dating, going on your quintessential movie rom-com dates.
Mm-hmm. I had a boyfriend, maybe 2 throughout high school, and it was someone I met through friends of friends. It was I didn't seek after them. They just sort of happened, and I was but I wasn't really, again, I wasn't a dater, kind of like you. I was there
for 2 of them. I was there for both of them.
Exactly. But I wasn't now where, you went on romantic dates, and this and that. And then now with the whole promposal level of things in high school, I don't even, I feel so here's what I've decided on this promposal. I know it's a slight tangent off of, but it's still sort of in the dating realm. But on this promposal, what I feel now is that in we've missed this, unfortunately, for our generation, because everyone is either not getting married because it's too expensive to have weddings and they want to buy houses. So what they're doing now in high school is the promposal, which is the equivalent of a real proposal, but we didn't have it because, our generation got screwed out of everything. So we don't if you didn't get a proposal and by the time you're at this time. So it's funny. It's I don't know.
I thought the promposal thing started because of entitled, spoiled, bratty girls from California. No offense.
Right.
So our California girls or anything like that. I'm using that just as, because that's where Hollywood is and that's where all the stereotypes are. I don't mean any offense to that. I'm just saying that you see it on movies and things like that. And you think that girls see their parents getting remarried or things like that. They see the proposals in movies and how romantic they are. And they're flash mobs and these big extravagant things. And they don't want to wait for it. So they push their potential prom date into doing this promposal. They posted a video online and bam, it's a fucking worldwide trend.
So I think we had My Sweet 16, which was how teenagers used to brag.
Yeah, I think so.
And it used to be that only rich teenagers got to brag because they got to be on MTV through Made or My Sweet 16.
Yes.
So now every teenager gets the right to brag because of TikTok. So now you have to do shit like promposals. There's no other choice. You have to do everything for TikTok or the gram or Twitter or all of it. Snapchat.
Clicks.
I find
everything for clicks.
Everything for clicks.
Yep.
I find promposals to be very manipulated manipulating, because how do you say no? Like if he has the entire cafeteria do a flash mob to like Bruno Mars's like "Marry You" song.
I want to marry you.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and you're just sitting there and you're like, I just wanted to go to English class.
I just wanted to finish my mac and cheese here, y'all. Like I wasn't expecting a flash mob in the middle of mac and cheese day.
It's Tater Tot Wednesday. We were lab partners 3 times, or our moms made us hang out a couple of times, and now there's like a literal flash mob happening.
Or I've already rejected you twice.
Yes.
Now you're making it a public stunt. So I have to say yes. So I'm not going to embarrass you. But guess what? That's on you.
Right.
Because I'm going to. I would say no.
It's very tricky, because I did have a guy who would every school dance be like, why aren't we dating? And I'm like, because I don't want to date you.
Straightforward. I like it.
Yeah. Like, we're not dating because we were friends and neighbors, and I don't want to date you. So I could only imagine like him having like a promposal bullshit thing at his disposal, and then my mom being all like, that was so nice, you couldn't have just gone with it. No.
Typical patriarch manipulation.
Right.
Thinking that we have to say yes because we don't want to publicly humiliate a guy.
Right.
But when he put himself out there knowing what a possible reaction is going to be, he has to be okay with being rejected.
But it was always those movies that made it seem like it was such a sweet and beautiful and a romantic moment. And guys, come on.
I won't deny it. I love the flash mob proposals and like the very public big proposals. I love them when they answer with a yes. Yeah. And they're obviously super excited about it, but you see them like hiding their faces or things like that. It's really cringeworthy. And Steph, you know I cannot watch embarrassing things.
This is true. No embarrassing things for Lindy. This is true.
No embarrassing things. I also, oh my gosh, I had like a big millennial moment. What was my big millennial moment? It left me. It had something to do with the promposal bullshit. Oh, my high school has outlawed grinding at prom.
Footloose? What are we doing here? Come on now. Like, what's happening?
As you
8
know,
inches, guys, 8 inches.
As you know, as fellow millennials, there's no one who loves a little bump and grind more than a millennial.
Yes.
We were nasty. All of our songs were about getting low, smacking that, and riding dirty.
Yep.
Oh, you're dancing too close.
Yeah. So my sister,
girl in the street, freak in the bed. Yep.
Right.
So my sister teaches with a woman who used to teach in the school district that my high school was in, and she was explaining that they breathalyze kids on the way in because so many kids show up wasted, which I don't remember happening at my high school when I was there. And
absolutely, half of them were drunk.
And then they give them these bands, these like anti-grinding bands, and if they catch you grinding too much, they take away your band. And if they catch you again, you have to go.
What is this freaking 80s, 50s Footloose style stuff going on here? Come on now.
That's what I asked my sister. I was like, what is a fucking Footloose?
Right?
If that happened at one of my proms, like in one of my years, I could have seen like half of the girls being like, I'm not fucking wearing a dress.
Right.
The ones in our school anyway.
Yeah, this needs to match my dress color. Like,
Do you have anything against like that doesn't match?
Grinding against my guy friends was the only time that they were a little bit romantic to me. Like, it was my only shot at romance. And how dare you
take it away from me and other future children? Come on.
My sister did make a point that kids are now also nasty here, and it's awkward to be a 30-year-old watching teenagers try to impregnate each other on the dance floor.
Ooh.
And I was like, I remember grinding. I don't ever remember being penetrated. Like,
right. It's true. Just grind. Like,
Oh,
Maybe like in the song Too Close, feel a little oomph coming through from you, but that's about it. You're not actually like penetration, you just feel a little something, but that's
just a
about
little
it. Come on.
something. I
Right?
get that. I was like, they're gonna get pregnant in the parking lot waiting for their moms to pick them up. That's what
Right?
you're not preventing anything.
I listen to country and it sure sounds like a lot of backseat trucks is what's happening and where kids are getting, formed and impregnated. So
They're gonna do it somewhere. If they want to do it, they're gonna fucking do it.
yeah.
Right.
Even in the bathroom at school, for crying out loud, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like just in a stall somewhere during prom, for crying out
You
loud.
can sure as hell bet they're not gonna fucking like whip it out and do each other on the goddamn dance floor. If anything, that's where they're getting their fucking appetite.
Right. Foreplay.
Right.
Then they'll go off and eat somewhere.
Right. Ba-da-ba.
Oh my god, that was great. And then they'll just go somewhere else and eat it.
Right.
Oh my god. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. When my sister told me that they had like anti-grinding bracelets. That they
Yeah, bracelets nonetheless.
know,
Like, what is
Chris.
that?
Fuck.
Oh
I
my
told my
gosh.
I told my sister, I was like, that means you're the man now. You are the man. And the kids are just trying to rebel. And they won't teach us sex ed in Indiana. We all just had to figure it out.
Right.
And grinding was one of the ways we did that.
You like legit had no sex ed in school?
So we had your standard STI horror slideshow where they were like, if you have sex,
You will get chlamydia and
You
die.
die.
just so you know, this is what your genitals could look like. And it would be like inflamed and oozing and
Ew.
awful.
Blue waffle.
Yes. And then we had right before the prom, we had this HIV AIDS talk where a man came up and he basically told us about his friend who got a divorce and like went to the Bahamas. And I was like, this is the plot of How Stella Got Her Groove Back. Met a younger guy, started having unprotected sex with that guy. And then it was sadder than How Stella Got Her Groove Back because she came back to the States and had AIDS. Like she had HIV, like
I can
from the
honestly
guy in the
say I've never seen that movie, and I did not think that's what it was about.
no, that is not what so it was like the sad like he took the plot of How Stella Got Her Groove Back and then he made it a horror story for a gymnasium full
Oh.
of children.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
And then he just like screamed like condom propaganda taglines to us.
Wear a
like,
condom.
right. He'd like be like, if you want to get silly, rap your willy. And,
Oh gosh.
and it was just like hours of that.
Oh.
If you're gonna park your car in the garage, think car cover. Thank you, Tim Allen.
Our grade 7 and grade 8 gym teacher was actually pretty open about her sex, the sexual education part, which is kind of
Yes.
good. I will give that.
Yes, she was great. I forget what her name was, but
It starts with an M, Miss something. And
yeah, we called her Miss M because I think her last name was extremely hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
So thanks, Miss M. We were very educated by you.
Yes, you were
Lovely.
very educational for us.
I remember the time she pulled out a tampon and put it in a glass of water to show us what it does. I used that with my stepdaughter when she got her period.
That's
I showed her that trick and I like taught her all about it. And everything.
And have you showed her the difference between Kotex where it bubbles out versus Tampax where it goes sideways?
I will when she gets to wearing tampons, but she is
Okay.
not wearing those just yet.
Because there is a difference in the comfort apparently, so beware. Oh, yes.
I wear
I prefer
period
plate.
panties, so I wouldn't know.
I wear the Playtex Sport.
Yeah.
It works for me, almost 40.
But yeah, so yes, so they also threw me a robot baby that cried
Oh gosh.
and was like, if
Made
you
me
have
think
sex,
about it. Yeah.
you will have a real baby that cries. So don't have sex.
Right. No sex. This baby is what will produce from sex.
But did you actually complete that assignment with the baby?
I did.
How long did you have to have it for?
I think maybe like 3 or 4 days. Like,
Yeah, we had to have ours for 3 days and 2 nights.
yeah.
Okay.
So
We
that
got
sounds
ours-
about right.
We would get the baby at 11 o'clock in the morning and have to return at 11 o'clock in the morning, like 2 nights later. So like we had it for like 48 hours or something. I brought him back the next fucking day.
You're like,
You're
can't
like,
handle it.
I was like,
No.
I know I am not ready to be a mother now. I know, like, I understand that, and I am going to use protection and all that and not get pregnant. I'm going to do my best. Take it. But I learned my lesson, so I got an A.
Oh, there you go.
Because that's the point of the project.
Because that's the
Yep.
point of the
Lesson.
project.
Yeah.
So that's how millennials were taught about sex. And that's
Yes.
why we have so many sex hangups. And that's why we would grind on one another in dark gymnasiums.
Or we learned about it through all those teen movies like She's All That
Yes.
and 10 Things I Hate About You or things like that.
And it's also a matter of like, adults don't want teenagers to express their sexuality. So it
No.
gets super pent up. So it does come out at like things like dances and formals which are our proms, we call them formals.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that was like a point on my notes that like no one in my high school really experimented. Like there was no like Degrassi, like gender fluid, sexuality fluid, like someone's dating someone new of a different gender expression every episode or whatever. Or
Are you
like,
kissing Degrassi right now?
no, I love
Okay.
Degrassi.
Good.
Please know that. I've seen
All right.
all of the Degrassi. My sister and I love
You know it's coming
Degrassi.
back, right? You know it's coming back, right?
Yes, on HBO Max, which means they're going to get to do weird shit.
Have you seen the OGs? Junior
Mhm.
High and the okay, all right.
Yes.
Pat Mastroianni,
Yeah.
We had
All the way with Stephanie K.
Yes.
Caitlin Ryan. Yep.
not to brag, but we had the noggin or the N is what it was called
Yes.
at nighttime because we had fancy cable. So like
Yes.
kids would come to our house every Monday night to watch Degrassi.
That's amazing. I love that.
Nice.
Oh,
Shout out
But-
Canadian television.
Yeah.
yes. But no one experimented in my high school. And if you did experiment, we actively talked about how you were fucking doing it for attention.
Well, did you live in a small town? Like, how big was your high school?
So I graduated with about like 400 people. I had a big
Oh,
high
okay.
school, but we are a small town in Northwest Indiana that's kind of like an hour away from Chicago. So it's like you had a lot of people, but very smallish town values.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because that sounds close to like my graduating class was probably, I think, about 500 kids.
Yeah.
It's like our school was packed beyond capacity.
And
like-
we were also like a rich kid school, so
Yeah,
we
We
had
had
a lot
a
of-
rich kids school.
yeah.
So we had a little
snob
bit of
kids.
at the dances, some of them might be drunk or showing up in their limos and being all, maybe there was some experimentations at parties that we were never privy
Oh.
to.
Is it
Although
story
Lindy apparently
time?
has a story, so
Is
let's
it
let
story
her.
time?
Yes.
So I
Please
heard
tell
about
me.
this one story that, so obviously I'm not going to name names. Like now you won't know who I'm talking about. Steph, I think you would know who they are if you knew them. So there's in our school, it was very clicked. There was, they're like the preppies and the cheerleaders and the skaters and the stoners and whatever, right? Like just whatever. My clique and we were all a mix of everything. We were kind of like a miscellaneous clique. And we got along with everybody. And so all the preppy, snobby, rich kids would get together like every weekend, throw a massive rager. And we hear it was nothing but fucking coke, ecstasy, like high-end booze, orgies, and like object ramming kind of
Oh
orgies.
my God.
I heard about this one girl with a tennis racket.
What? Wow.
And I'm just like, I'm really glad I am not a rich, popular kid.
right.
Because holy fuck. I have no idea if these stories are actually 100% true, but I'm pretty sure they are. Considering one of the girls, one of the twins, the twins, she was missing. We were like, where the fuck did she go? Turns out she had gone to rehab.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We-
Like our school had crazy fucking stories. Like we had craze at our school. Like
and a lot
stabbing.
of-
Someone got stabbed right in front of my sister.
There was a kid who got
Gosh.
caught in the library pleasuring
Masturbating?
himself
Oh my
as
God.
well. Yep. That was something that
Yes.
happened. Yep.
Yes, I remember that too. Yeah.
So we had nothing like that. Now, my best friend Stephanie and I, we do a yearbook tour once a year. It takes hours where we talk about literally everyone and all of our like highlights.
Steph, can we do that?
And we talk
Right? We
shit.
should do that as an episode.
So we didn't have anything wild like orgies and I was friends with everyone in high school. Like I was one of those people who we like we would like float around from different groups. I got along with everyone. I was a speech and debate kid. We had one drama. It forced me to quit speech and debate. A lot of our speech successful people were also in show choir. And in show choir, you did a lot of overnight things. So a group of guys in on one of the show choir overnights, they all jerked off into the same cup and then threw it on a sleeping freshman.
A guy.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
And then like
Oh.
he didn't wake up, so they just like let him sleep in it.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
ew.
And then our school was really gross about it because they were like, you will support, because like we needed them for state or whatever. So it's like, we're not going to talk about it. They're not getting in trouble.
So that shit
Boys
literally
will be
happened?
boys, like in the Olympics a few years back, whatever, with what's his face, Ryan Lochte or whatever. This boys will be boys mentality.
So you're telling me all of those teen sport movies like Varsity Blues and shit, where like the star quarterback, they get away with rape and sexual assault and all this bullshit, and it's true. Like it actually
true.
legit happens.
It is true. Even when it's
Like I'm not
speech and
shocked,
debate.
but like I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
wow.
Like,
Oh my God.
like, it is a story that my friend and I bring up like once a month because we're like those motherfuckers. And like,
Those motherfuckers.
and like, here's my
Oh,
chance to
man.
roast them on my podcast.
Right?
Fuck you guys. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, fuck you turds.
So that was
Little
high
boys.
school in a
Little boys.
nutshell. We had limited text messaging and phone minutes, so we couldn't even keep track of our boyfriends.
10
all day.
cents a text message, actually, at one point.
With a 60 character limit. Like,
Oh my God.
fuck you, phone companies.
Yo, you had to
Wow.
press a button like 3 times to get to the letters that you wanted to get to.
A couple of them had 4.
Oh yes, that is true.
The 7, which one is it? The 7, I think it was 1, 2, 3 RST, because it was my T. That's how I knew, because it was QP or QRST, I think is what it was.
Yeah. You had to
Yeah.
press a button 4 times. You had
Yeah.
to press 7.
Goddamn T9 texting.
Oh my gosh. I was so
Motherfuckers.
fast at it though. I was so fast.
I eventually got fast at it. Yeah.
Because once unlimited messaging became a thing, my mom had to put it on my phone. I was a freshman in college because
Oh.
I was racking up our phone bill texting one guy all day, every day, because I could do it quickly.
I actually I got, if you remember, the mic system phones that had the beep, 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 because one of my boyfriends from his dad and his parents worked and they had them. And I was like, well, why not have one? So I ended up getting one of those phones because why the hell not?
They were super convenient for our road trips.
Oh, absolutely. They were
Like,
great for road trips.
Yeah, when we had like a convoy of cars, if we were going like down to Grand Bend for the day or something, they were very convenient to have.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Because we didn't have like Bluetooth and shit back then, right?
No.
Like
It wasn't
Back-
easy. You could just
it
like
wasn't even a-
microphone and beep, beep, you
and
know.
it wasn't even illegal yet to talk on your phone and drive. In a lot of
Yes.
places, it's still fine.
It was still okay.
Shouldn't be. But
And then the world turned to dating apps. I think right
Ugh.
after I graduated from college.
Plenty of Fish was the segue to that. Let's be real.
that
Yeah.
was the
Plenty of
only one.
Fish.
That was the only one I was ever on, and I was on it for like 3 months.
I don't think I was ever on Plenty of Fish.
Mm.
I never met anybody off of it. Like I was never a dater in high school. Like I was like I was a super tomboy. Like I was not into the guys at my school. It was very lack of options. Like they weren't exactly, and a lot of them were people I'd gone to school with since kindergarten. A lot of great guys, but they're my friends, and I don't
Right.
look at them that way.
Mhm.
And like I didn't even have my first boyfriend till like I was almost 19. Like not my first boyfriend was 13, you know, but you're 13. But and yeah, like I'm not a dater. Like I'm not
Oh, I
I
definitely
never
was a dater.
I had like maybe a few like one dates with a couple of random guys, but it like never led anywhere. That's
Yeah.
also something I've never done. I've
Yeah.
never gone home with a guy from a bar. I've never picked up at a bar. I made out with a guy at a bar one time.
I picked up at a bar, went to his place, and went back to the bar afterwards, and then went home with my friends.
So I literally think that this year coming out of the quarantine is going to be my villain arc story, which just like taking people home from bars, because I never
It's
fucked around
fun.
either. And like
It's
now I'm
fun. Do it.
33
Do
and
it,
I
girl.
want to fuck around.
Well, you know what? So
You're
when-
empowered, you're doing it, you do you.
Yeah.
And it really is fun, honestly. Like just make sure
Yeah.
you're talking with them for a bit, make sure they're not serial
you're
killers
safe.
and stuff, and you're safe. Always make sure a friend kind of knows where you're
Yeah.
going and that, but you do you, girl, have fun. Mm.
The first app that it wasn't an app, it was a website. I was on Match.com. I paid for it.
All right.
Yeah.
So where were we? Sorry.
All right.
Match.com.
Match.com.
Because I
did-
remember as well doing Match.com. I think I
Yes.
did it for like 2 months.
I
did
paid
not.
for it, and I paid for Match.com because their personality assessment was easier than eHarmony's.
Yeah. Mine was actually after I was dating a dumbass who decided to rob the fuck out of me. And he was a
Yeah.
douche. And then turns out one of the guys I had matched up and was talking with apparently knew him or something. Because all of a sudden I went to go drop some shit off. He's like, oh, how's that snowboarder guy? And I was like, what the fuck? So then I was like, because I was like, oh, I'm going to go on a dating site where he probably won't find me. He's not going to pay for, nope. I was like, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know. It was weird. He was a fucking crazy psycho.
What a douche.
Weird.
I have had some interesting some interesting men over the years, let's just say.
The one and only guy that I dated more than like went on a couple of dates with, like actually slept with him, saw him for a couple of months. He broke up with me by texting me all of the new meds he was on. And he's like, I'm just going through a lot of stuff and now I have to be on these medications. And he texted me his like mental health list of medications.
Wow.
And then said that he could
Is after you broke up?
No,
or-
it was
no, who
that
was
was
this?
the breakup text. It was like,
Oh.
I don't think we can see one another anymore because I'm going through a lot. Also, I'm taking all of these. But I was also like you, where I thought that like quality guys would pay for Match.com. So you should
Right?
also pay for Match.com. And then as soon as I downloaded a free app, I was like, all these motherfuckers are on everything.
Yes, it's the same guys on all the platforms. It doesn't matter if it's free or pay. It was hard for a woman out there. It really was. It was, especially if you were kind of attractive.
I got fucking dumped on IM Messenger.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Was it an away message? Because that was the most passive
No,
aggressive way
we
to-
were talking. Maybe it was AOL.
Yeah.
I think it was AOL. We were talking because we were dating and we were dating long distance. He lived 8 hours up north and we had been dating for 2 months. And we were talking about like serious things like the last time we talked. And then this time we talked, he was just like, oh, I don't think it was fair of me to do this. And like, whatever, because we're so far away and blah, 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 whatever. And I felt really fucking hard for him. And this, like, he broke my heart, like just fucking crushed me or whatever. But like, you know what? It is what it is because he is super happy with his wife and their kids and whatever. And I wish him all the best. And I am super fucking happy with Aaron. And it all works out for the way it's supposed to, right? You got to suffer the heartbreak. You have to.
You have to, because that's like the catch-22 with dating. It's good when it's good, and then once it's bad, and then you just move on to the next.
You'll either end up together forever or one of you will break the other's heart. That was my last relationship. I had to break his heart to get out of it. I didn't want to, but I had to. It was the only way I could get out of that abusive relationship. It was the only way.
And I think
it wasn't physical, but it was emotional and verbal. But like,
I think that's
what I
why
mean.
I have such a hard time with internet dating, because like I want to put my all in it. I'm not a very good dater because I'm very end result focused, and I'm like, well, why would we do this and not have it be a thing? Like,
we're in our 30s. Why are we wasting our time?
Right.
Yes.
Right. Do you guys remember when they would put in like every dating profile? Remember when it was embarrassing to have met online?
yes,
Right.
that episode of How I Met Your Mother with blah blah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
blah blah.
With
Yeah.
blah blah. Her name
Yep.
is Cindy, but yes.
So like now everyone meets online. Tinder, swiping, Bumble, all of it.
All of them.
Even Hollywood people have a dating
Raya.
app now.
That's
Right.
how you end up. That's how you end up with a long lost relative.
Yes.
I've swiped on Kate's cousin, which made me laugh.
I have never swiped.
Well, the funny thing is I saw him, and then all of a sudden I was like, do I? Do I? And I was like, because sometimes you're just intrigued on what the results are.
Right,
You don't even
because
care if
you
you
wanna
like them or,
know.
right? You want to know. So I was like, I didn't
I
match,
have-
and I was like, I fucking knew it. I knew it.
I have that thought every time someone who I know comes across the app. I'm
Yes.
like, do I do
Yes.
it just to see if
Dude.
they did it?
Right?
But then I
Because
don't want to.
because you know it tells them that you've matched once you say yes.
Yeah.
So you're like, do
Oh,
I? Do
Because
I?
then I don't want to have that conversation with you.
I'm so lost. I have no idea what you're talking about. I know what swiping means, but like
Yeah.
the rest of what you're talking about, I have no fucking clue.
So you don't know who swipes right on you and tries to match with you until you also match with them, and then you get to message.
So if
Yeah.
you swipe on someone and they never swipe on you, then
You
what?
just never know.
You just never know.
Okay.
It's into the
Obviously,
ether.
it's a no. Obviously,
Right.
it's a no. They just skip right past you.
Well, you would have already said yes. So if they do eventually get to you, you may get everything that says, "Oh, they've now said yes."
Yeah.
But
Congratulations, you're number 253.
right, exactly. Until that point, you don't know. Yeah.
But
Okay.
every
Okay.
time someone that I know comes across this phone, I was like, do I just do it for the chaos?
Yes. Every time. Do I do it just to see if they said yes or no? But then at the same time, do you want to unleash that and being like, oh, they didn't say yes. Either they didn't recognize me or they just don't want to. Like, it's that little heartbreak of like,
Right.
damn, an ego shatter, I should say.
It's never a good situation anyways, because then if you both say yes, then the person is going to be like, I never knew, Natalie. And it's like, oh, I was just doing it for the chaos.
or they legitimately like met someone and started dating and just totally forgot about their profile like
Right.
I did. I'm pretty sure my POF is still kind of
No, I think they got rid of it.
Oh, I would
think
hope
they-
so because it's been nearly a decade since I've been on it.
Yeah, they
So-
deactivate accounts that aren't used after a while.
I would hope so because yeah.
Yeah. But I just remember being on Match.com and every guy making a point to write out, we don't have to tell people that we met here. We can tell them that we met
Oh
and then
my
like
God.
some nondescript
At a French cooking
activity.
class
Right. At bowling, at the bar.
through a friend, like
Sure.
old times.
Right. And like it's so
Did we lose her again?
I think we lost Steffi
I
again.
think we lost her again. Anyway, continue. The bar.
It's so funny to think about, like, now online dating is the norm and people are dating people all around the world, like, and it just having long distance relationships. And when we were ushered into online dating, we were also ashamed of it.
I know
Debbie,
that.
do you remember when online dating was like something that you had to be ashamed about?
I think partially a little bit like I didn't quite do the online dating at that point in my life. So but I do sort of remember that. But I was like, I definitely was like, once online dating was okay, that's when I was kind of doing it.
Oh, see,
And it was more socially acceptable.
Yeah.
I was doing it pretty early on because when I moved out here, I was teaching and I was teaching at a school where everyone was like older than me and married. And I wasn't hanging out with a lot of people my age. And you can't meet dates that way. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So then someone was like, why don't you try Match.com? And I'm like, oh, is that the kind of person I am now?
I know. I think I was like 29 or whatever, 30 when I finally did the Match.com because I was just like, prior to that, because it was always the free ones. And I was like, I just can't. And then it was mostly because I was trying to get away from the dumb boyfriend. And then I was like, well, let's just give this and again, hoping for quality men in the paid, but no.
Is that how you and Kevin met?
No Tinder.
Oh, you met on Tinder. Oh, okay.
We were 100% a Tinder one.
I've never been on
right.
Tinder. I only do Bumble because it makes me feel like I have the most control. I don't know
Yeah.
why I only do Bumble. I hate them.
I did Bumble like just before, like around when me and Kevin started dating. I was on Bumble and Tinder, but Bumble I think was just new, so it was really weird. So I wasn't quite. And Tinder was just easier.
I just gotta say, I'm so glad I'm no longer in the dating scene.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So glad I'm not.
I find the dating apps to be an absolute shit show.
Yes.
Yes.
I'd agree based on what I hear.
And I truly feel like, again, we had to like ride the wave of this giant shift in dating where we were kind of set up to date one way, like just date the people that are within an arm's reach of you. just like proximity through school,
meeting friend through a friend, yeah,
Yes.
through school at a bar, maybe.
like taking some sort of class, just like
Yeah.
literally like real life encounters. And then these apps happen, and it's like, well, you could date anyone, but he also could date anyone. So why would you ever settle down?
And then there was also, well, prior to this, also some of the gaming community had a lot of that dating into it. So
Mhm.
kind of pre-dating app, but still sort of because you're talking to people online, and like a lot of people I knew kind of met overseas and sort of done things like that. But yes,
Yeah.
it's weird.
I have a question, Natalie. What are your thoughts on dating apps like Ashley Madison?
Oh, is Ashley Madison the one where husbands
cheating
keep-
apps.
The cheating
Yeah,
app.
cheating apps.
Number one, we live in a world where we are starting to talk more openly about like poly relationships and open marriages and whatever. And so why? So why as a person would you make an entire app around like, I'm just gonna fuck over spouses?
When there are other ones where it's like, say, FetLife, where it's like a Facebook for type of like fetish people, where it could be the poly folks
Right.
or the this and that, and it's a safe space instead of these cheating where, because everyone's usually kind of open, versus these cheating where it's like behind your back and your wife not knowing. Like, that's just terrible.
And it's just like allowing the trash to take themselves out.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
It could have very well started out very innocently and started out as a dating app for couples in an open relationship, and it just kind of snowballed.
That brings me to my next point. I think one of the reasons why like our generation gets eked out by the dating apps is because of the MTV hit show Catfish. I don't believe that the younger generations realize how often we were watching MTV.
Right. Yeah.
I did
everything.
lot. I did a lot, but I did watch a couple of episodes.
Because we had it, some of them were through
cheaters.
First, it was filtered through Much Music. So we only got so many MTV shows through Much Music. And then we eventually got an MTV sub part here. And then we started getting more of it.
Oh,
yeah.
So are you familiar with the show Catfish?
Yes. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite shows. And I fully believe that at any moment I could just be catfished with it, which then plays into your fears of like, I'm going out on a date with a stranger and I'm going to be murdered.
We also had shows like Blind Dates as well, where they did the silly little like captions of like people meeting for the first time. And yeah, we did have a lot of these weird like dating shows. Where's the one where it was like Room Raiders, where they go in and like we just had these weird. So it's three girls, and they go into each of the rooms or whatever and see what's in the room or something. It's just so many weird dating shows like that.
You're missing the most important part of that show, Steph, is that a guy or girl picks 3 girls or 3 guys that she wants to potentially date or he wants to potentially date, and they get to go and look around in their rooms to see if there's anything that's clicking, like if
red flags,
things like that. Whereas in one, they would pull out embarrassing things for on camera on fucking purpose. And 2, the person whose room it is, they fucking get kidnapped. They get dragged out, fucking.
I forgot that they got
and screaming. And because I read an article about it today, in one of the episodes, the girl who was kidnapped, her dad had no idea about the show and pulled a gun on the fucking crew. Almost shot them in their faces. Like, these shows are awful. They are absolutely awful for everyone involved watching them. I'm sorry.
Well, that was like Pimp My Ride too. I heard
cheaters
that.
I'll watch. I like watching cheaters.
But yeah, all of those, we had all of those different weird ones where
we had so many fucked up dating shows when we were younger. Remember Joe Millionaire, where you thought you were dating a millionaire?
Yes.
And you were dating
a
construction worker. And then if you still chose to love him, even though your entire relationship was built on a lie, you got $1 million.
Right? Even like the movies, 10 Things I Hate About You, She's All That. These movies, like we mentioned before, they just, all of these bad plot lines where they start with like these lies and then, we still love him though. Like,
pretty much all of our teen movies are just all gaslighting, all manipulation, all fucking head games. That's all they taught us. Like, I love my teen movies, don't get me wrong. But that's all they are.
Well, and then I believe that like the media that we were fed when we were younger honestly made us believe that dating was the end all be all, and you should be doing it and you should be wanting to do it often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sex in the City, like
Mm-hmm.
come on, like, yeah, you
Yeah.
just had all these shows that were just say, dating is dating, and then but then also like but the end be all is dating and marriage, and you have to
Yes.
always be married, and once you're married everything is fine, everything is good, and life is simple and good, instead of being like, no, married life is also hard, guys. Just because you get married doesn't mean everything is happy and good and pleasantful, which was the other bullshit we were kind of fed as well. Like, once you're in a relationship or in marriage life, it's you still gotta work at you still gotta work at it. You still have to
Right.
do stuff, like,
Yeah. A lot of my friends say that like your relationship does change after getting married. It does change. Like I have noticed a difference in mine and Aaron's relationship once we got engaged. So I'll let you know in October once we get married. I'll let you know if it changes.
Ooh, we could do a whole episode on
That's what I
it.
hear. Yeah. Just be like, oh man.
Because think about it, all of the sitcoms like get like one more season or they end with the wedding.
yeah,
Or the
Like
baby
because they're like,
or something.
right, goal met. They got married. We can stop watching.
right.
Which
The
for most of
OC.
them, I would watch way more OC. I would watch way more One Tree Hill. I would watch way more Dawson's Creek. Like,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah.
I love One Tree
Yeah.
Hill.
Fucking
I love One
Tree
Tree
Hill. Are you
Hill.
listening to their podcast, Drama Queens? Oh my God.
No, but I follow them and I need to be listening to it.
Yes, you fucking do.
Yeah.
So good. Oh my God. And I would watch more Gilmore Girls.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Fuller House. I want more Fuller House. I fucking love that show.
But yeah, so then what were we TV shows. And now I feel like marriage isn't anyone's goal anymore. Like you're
No.
engaged, Lindy,
Yes.
but was it the goal?
I mean, that's kind of a loaded question. I'd be like, yes and no.
Yeah.
Like, I like my whole life, I pictured myself getting married, having a baby, having the family, having a career, like everything that the patriarchy fills into a woman's head, that
Yes.
or the things that you feel like you should want and need and whatever. And then and I was with a guy through 7.5 years of my 20s who is the wrong fucking guy, like completely fucking wrong. And then 4 months after we broke up, me and Aaron started dating. Like we were like hooking up and stuff, whatever. But like we started dating like 4 months later, and 9 years later we're engaged and everything. And when we started dating, I knew that, and I'm sorry, baby, if this is too much information, but he's fixed, right? And my entire life, I'd always pictured myself having a baby or whatever. But I had to make that decision for myself if I was going to continue this relationship, knowing I would never have my own kids. Yeah. And he has 2 kids from his previous marriage. And I'm so glad that I made the choice that I did. Like so beyond happy with my life choices and being with him. He makes me unbelievably happy. And if we never got, I always told him that if we weren't married by our 10-year anniversary, which is this October, which is when we're getting married, then we're not getting married. Because
at that point, why?
Yeah, and I have this superstition in my head that like the longer you're together before you get married, the shorter your marriage is going to be. I feel like it's happened to a lot of my friends who were together for 10, 15 years. They finally tie the knot and their marriage lasted like 1 to 5 years. Oh. And maybe it's all in my head. Like I know that every relationship is different, but that's just, I don't know, that's just how I feel. I can't really explain it. So he proposed on our 9th anniversary. We're getting married on our 10th.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Steffi, you raised your hand at some point.
Yes, because I was definitely one of those who wanted to grow up, get married, have kids when I was 19, when I was dating this guy. And well, I dated him from like about 17 to 19. And like Lily, 2 months after my 19th birthday, we ended up breaking up because I realized he was not the one I wanted to have all that stuff with. And then, year over year, and then the 20s, I started to realize, like, oh, what happened is I got a job, I lived on my own, I supported myself, and then I realized, well, I still want to have a pretty wedding because I still want to have a pretty dress and feel like a pretty girl and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the real reason I want a wedding. It's not, at this point, the wedding wasn't necessarily about the person quite yet. It's always been about the pretty day now. And so it's like, that was, well, not now, but like that was through my 20s. It was more like, yeah, the day. And so just, it's now in my 30s. I was just like, well, I still want to have it, but it's been changed. And I would hopefully maybe still want to have kids, but also that 37 window, is getting a little closer and closer. So other things. So it was a thing I did think about, but now as life has progressed and changed, and I'm not upset with what I've done in my life. Like I'm happy with the way my life is done out, but now it's like, okay, do I need to decide if I wanted to say foster kids or adopt kids or just be accepting with not having kids? Those are the kind of the turning point I'm at. So, and then I do still want to have a fancy dress.
Well, we'll get you a fancy dress. We can make that work.
I just want a fancy dress.
I built my entire college experience around knowing that I would be a wife and a mother. So I picked teaching as my career focus because my entire life I watched women bow out of teaching to have babies and families and all of that. So I was like, oh, teaching is an easy career to like float in and out of when you're having a family. So I'll teach. And I do remember like with my first serious boyfriend in college, I remember just being like, check, I did it. And now I'm on that path to being a married person. But the moment he started talking about us being married was so terrible because he was drunk. And he was complaining about his stepmom not making his dad dinner before she went out with her friends. And I was like, your dad can't call Pizza Hut?
Right? Or McDonald's?
Right. I was like, your dad can't put in like a frozen corn dog or like eat a
Delissio? It's not delivery, it's Delissio. Like,
so like he was just like railing on it, like, and I can't believe her. She only thinks about herself, this, that, and the other. And he had a lot of issues with his stepmom. And he's just like railing on her. And then he started talking about like my expectations. And I hope that you know that whatever woman that I marry needs to be taking care of me first and thinking about their friends second. And I was like, oh.
So how long after that conversation did you call it quits?
Right.
I believe that was the slow descent to the end.
But you kind of like decided to give him another shot. Like,
okay,
like we generally do.
Yeah.
Right. But why as women do we keep giving them more and more,
because
one more shots? Because
we think that we can change them. My last relationship was a perfect example, Steph. I held on to that one like 4 years too fucking long. I should have listened to you and Mo and everybody else.
Right.
But no, you have to come to the realization that he is awful for you on your own.
But then even like, so then the second guy that I dated / slept with after my serious boyfriend, we had been friends for years. So even then my head was like, okay, you and him used to joke about being married when you were in high school. So now we'll just like seamlessly make
segue.
Remember that I'm the one and only one for him. And then we'll get married and like this timeline that I've created will happen.
And it didn't.
And it didn't because I moved here, which I think like was an emotional moment for both him and I, but we're not friends anymore or anything. But I know that's what happens when you fuck your friends.
I mean, that's true.
When you fuck your friends.
That definitely crossed my mind when like Aaron and I kind of started benefiting.
Like, where you benefit first?
Yeah, like we had been friends for 10 years. We lost contact for about 5, and then we reconnected or something because I was still friends with her ex-boyfriend. I think we lost her again. Yep, we did. And she probably doesn't want to hear this. She's heard it 1,000 times. And but yeah, so like, and I'd always had a crush on him. Like from the moment I met him, I'm like, oh my God, I fucking love this man. And then like 10 years went on or whatever, and we were friends. Like we were best friends at the time. He was my best guy friend, and we hung out all the time for months and months. And then we both ended relationships, and we're in a like fuck it kind of spot.
But I feel like that's also like where the culture shock came for millennials is like we were sold this like timeline of like you just go to college and then you meet a guy and then you marry him.
The house, the white picket fence, 2.4 children, the dog, yada yada, all of that.
But then we graduated college, some of us not married or in relationships, and they were like, fuck it, here's the internet. You can date anyone.
I didn't even go to college, so it's like
Neither did I.
19 graduate, and it's like, well, what am I gonna do? I'm working, so I'm gonna go to the bar every weekend on Friday and
Right.
Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
Like,
Which is
come
what
on.
we did. We did
What
it.
I definitely did. 24. Me and Kate at 24. Oh my gosh, that summer was the best. Oh,
I do
ever
remember.
good.
I wasn't very slutty in my 20s, but I was like ready to be slutty in my 20s. Like I was dancing a lot, I was going out a lot, I wasn't sleeping around a lot, but I was doing like all of the things that would like make it easy for you to sleep around, except for also being in a committed relationship.
Oh man.
All right.
What about sorry, I need to ask you about one more dating app.
Sure.
Sugardaddy.com.
Oh, I love it. Almost
Yeah?
like would probably sign up for it tonight because I'm broke. And I think that my mom and I were talking about it this morning. I think the way that women have capitalized on the fact that gross men will pay you to do anything and give them any sort of attention is fabulous.
OnlyFans, man, this whole foot fetish videos on there,
I
like,
saw your post about that, yeah.
right? Me and Kevin have had many conversations ad nauseum about putting foot videos on OnlyFans. Because if you're just gonna have me fucking put my foot in shit and pay me $100 for it, I got a fucking hose out back or a freaking thing in the bathroom. Like, come on,
I'll put my feet in weird things for money.
right?
I was telling my mom about these like live cam shows, and I was like, Mom, I was like, it's literally these women just going about their day, but they might be topless. And then people tip them. And I'm like, I'm already at home doing my scrapbooking bullshit. Like, why aren't I
Right?
just topless and
Topless.
making money?
Right? Or maybe bottomless. Why
Right,
not?
or
You know?
bottomless. Why not? And
Like,
my mom was surprisingly all for it. And I was like, because Mom, I don't even think I would feel bad about myself for doing it. And she goes, and why would you feel bad for yourself to do it? If gross men are going to pay you to do things topless, do things topless.
my mother was never opposed to stripping to get you through any kind of career at
No.
a younger age. She's like, if you got the body, do it. You're only gonna be young once.
If I had the body, I definitely would have done it. I fucking love dancing. I just
Yeah.
can't dance in heels.
And some of the strippers I've
Oh.
seen just can't fucking dance, period.
And-
So I feel like I would have been way better and gotten way more tips than some of those girls.
Could you imagine
Ugh.
your core strength?
Right?
Ugh.
Like the pole dancing and stuff? Like, fuck, that's a wicked workout.
Wicked workout. Sex work is so taboo in America that when I was like younger, I was obsessed with movies about strippers and like sex workers and all of it. Because it
Striptease, showgirls.
because it's
all of
almost
them,
like
yes.
ooh, they're almost like right up against being on the outside of the law because America has all these weird hangups about sex and the naked body.
Yeah, right. We're up
Yep.
here, we're not too bad. We're a little more open, but
Yeah.
you know, still a little prudish, but a little more open.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we're friends now.
Right? Absolutely.
On to all the men I've tolerated before. We have two traditions. We have to talk about our big takeaways of being millennials who have had to watch this entire shift into online dating happen. And then we have to manifest for people who are currently dating. Does anyone have a big lesson that they took away from having to be a millennial who dated and then an adult who like had to go through dating apps?
Always ask if they're a serial killer or not.
Just straight up ask.
I legit have asked, and they're like, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, okay, because I want sometimes to someone to just say yes one time, just once, but no one ever did.
I don't know. I think, well, I can't because I never really used the dating apps or anything like that. So I can't exactly compare. But my biggest advice would be like, pay attention to the red flags, learn them, and acknowledge them. Do not just dismiss them.
Yeah. Just
Read a lot of them are the
or
assholes
something.
because that is where red flags will come up. Yes.
Yeah.
And if all of your friends and all of your family are saying the same thing about this guy or person that you're dating, really look at that. That's all I gotta say. Really look at that. Big.
I think my biggest takeaway of being a young person who got to date kind of the old-fashioned way and then an adult who has to date this way is I think there's a misconception out there that it's easier to make connections with people now. I would argue that it's actually harder. I
Yes.
find dating apps to be places where people can lie easier or feed you a story or come off more interesting than they are.
Or they just
Mhm.
don't forget about, like, you get a hey and then
Yeah.
nothing for days, and then they come back to you like 2 months later and be like, hey, and
But-
you're like, we didn't even start a conversation. Yeah, like, so you get a lot of complacency or just
Yeah.
I feel like
Agreed.
that's the age of social media that we're living in, where you
Mhm.
live a completely different life than what you're
Yeah.
putting out there on
Yes.
screen. Just like Anna Delvey is the most biggest example of that. Like biggest.
Yeah.
But just be your fucking self. Like don't
Right.
if you have to lie to get someone, nothing is ever going to work out for you.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing is like now you have to work that much harder to have a genuine connection with people because you have to actually wade through the bullshit and go on like multiple dates with a stranger that you've met online to even see if they're a person that you think that you've created in your head.
Yes, because that's another thing. The person you create in your head becomes way different than the person you meet, and is that the person you want to date? Or yes,
Yeah.
all of it, all of it.
What would
Yep,
you
absolutely.
manifest and hope for people who are millennials dating now?
Mm.
I would hope that they would like the millennials that are dating at the moment. I hope that they know who they are and what they want and they go
Mhm.
for it.
Awesome.
I hope that they've gotten to the point where you can be confident in yourself. You know, 'cause, like millennials are like what 30s now. I don't even know what the ages 30 of the millennials are.
40
What are they?
to 30 or 20, 30, 25, 25 to 40.
Like late 20s to like 40
Yeah.
or something like that. Like I would hope that by now they would have the confidence in themselves to be who they are and fucking go for what they want. Don't take don't take no for an answer, but not in that way. But you know what I mean. That went really dark. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I spent a week in Boston last week with well, not last week, the week before, for work and that, and I actually found that like there's a lot of people that just tend to live very different lives, whether it's through like multiple careers, multiple lives with, like, say they were married to someone, that person died, they divorced and things. And this is, so don't be afraid to live a new life if you needed to, or like people like our life is not just one particular thing. It's not this one little box. You can live multiple different lives and be different people throughout one entire long lifetime.
Every day is
Like,
a new chance to reinvent yourself.
Yep.
it really, really is. Like, there was one guy, he was talking about how he was in a Marines and then he started this job here, then he went to this job here and then worked his way up here and here. And I was like, but you look like you're only, how did you, like, it's just mind blowing how they've gone through so many different changes and transitions in their lives. And it's, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Life is not whatever cookie cutter box you thought that someone needed to put you into. You can change it any time. And even if you don't like that, you can change it that. Don't be afraid of change. So often we get so stagnant and stuck in ourselves, and change is not terrible. It is actually a good thing.
Also
sometimes.
known as growth.
Growth,
Yeah.
yes.
Which is one of our big themes here on Team
Right?
Tolerator.
Yeah.
I hope that dating, now that we've done this like complete opposite swing where I don't feel like it's very personable at all, I hope that as we start to come more and more out of the pandemic, or as we relearn how to socialize during a pandemic, it becomes personable again, and that people are out and about genuinely making connections with one another again, instead of just looking at their phones all the time.
Put your phone down, go out and meet actual human beings.
You spent 2 years dealing with people just online on a computer screen. Deal with them in life. But the metaverse is showing us that a lot of people probably still want to do that anyways. But go out and enjoy people. I agree. Go out and enjoy people.
I hate
Enjoy
people. I don't like people. So I'm so glad I found my person.
All right. How would the two of you like to plug your podcast and where they can find you?
So you can find us.
Steph can do that.
Yeah.
She always does it.
Yeah. You can find us on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, those most places. We have millennialspod.com, our website. And then, yeah, you can find us also on Instagram, Turn in the Millennials Pod. Yeah. So.
And tolerators, you know it. You have to like and subscribe on Instagram. Well, you have to like and subscribe the podcast for my ego. And you have to leave reviews, because on the weekends, I'm literally screenshotting text messages that people say about the show and putting them online now. Our Instagram is at Men I've Tolerated Pod, and my personal Instagram is NatalieK124. Don't forget, if you want to be on the Fireside live show where we take themes from the episodes and then I create fun little extension game activities to do, you have to do that through the Instagram. And you can email us questions about your relationships or anything you need advice on at menI'veToleratedBefore@gmail.com. Thank you so much for being here, Turn of the Millennials.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, that was cute. It was almost in sync.
We try to do things in sync, but then when we listen back to our episodes, they're not in sync at all.
We're just literally off by like a split second.
It never works out.
I love it. And remember, tolerators, you don't have to smile through anything that you're tolerating, including being really confused about how the fuck we're supposed to be dating now when we grew up one way and now have to live this way.
Yeah.
Smiles are for joy.
Luck. Good luck to all of you.
Good luck to you all.